Story 1. I never believed in curses until that Halloween night in the old farmhouse. It started with a whisper in the wind, like the earth itself was giggling at our stupidity for moving in. We thought it was just an adventure, a fresh start in a rundown place on the edge of town. But as I sit here now, scratching these words in the dirt with trembling fingers, I know the ground hungers for more than just rain. It wants blood, and it's coming for me next. My name is Mia Johnson, and I'm 16. Or was. Time blurs down here. It all began when my family packed up our city life and drove to this forgotten spot in late October 2025. Dad, Mark, got a job at a nearby factory, and Mom, Lisa, said the farmhouse was a steal, even if it looked like it might collapse in a stiff breeze. The paint peeled like old skin, and the windows stared like empty eyes. My brother Alex, 14 and always the brave one, joked it was perfect for Halloween. "We'll scare the neighbors instead of the other way around," he said. If only we'd known. The backyard was the weirdest part. An overgrown pumpkin patch sprawled out like a tangled web, vines snaking everywhere, pumpkins bulging fat and orange under the weeds. Alex and I couldn't resist. We spent the afternoon before Halloween carving them into jack-o'-lanterns, goofy grins, triangle eyes, the usual stuff. I made one with a winking face, thinking it was cute. We lined them up on the porch, candles flickering inside as dusk fell. Trick-or-treaters didn't come. Too far out, I guess. Just us, munching candy and telling ghost stories by the fire. As the clock ticked toward midnight, something shifted. The air grew thick, like breathing soup. I stepped outside for fresh air, and that's when I noticed the glow. Not the warm orange from the candles. The jack-o'-lanterns shimmered with this sickly green light, pulsing like hearts. Their carved faces, they twisted. The grins stretched too wide, eyes narrowing into slits of hate. "Alex, come look!" I called, my voice shaky. He poked his head out, laughing at first. "Wind's playing tricks, Mia." But then one pumpkin's eyes moved. I swear it. They locked on me, following as I stepped left, then right. My skin crawled. Stupidly, I reached out and touched it, the rind cold and slimy under my fingers. That's when hell broke loose. Vines shot up from the ground like snakes, thick and thorny, wrapping around my ankles. They yanked hard, pulling me off my feet. I screamed as they dragged me toward the patch, dirt scraping my skin, roots clawing at my clothes. "Dad, help!" I yelled. Mark burst out the door, eyes wide. He grabbed a shovel from the shed and started hacking at the vines. But they were alive, writhing, regrowing faster than he could cut. Alex joined in, stomping and pulling, but more vines lashed out, whipping his arms like bullwhips, drawing blood. Inside, Mom had been rummaging in the basement for more candles. She came running up, face pale as a ghost, clutching a crumpled newspaper clipping. "Oh God," she whispered, shoving it at Dad. "Look at this, from 1925. The old farmer here, he sacrificed his family, buried them in the patch to curse the land for a bountiful harvest. Said the pumpkins would guard it forever." We didn't have time to process it. The jack-o'-lanterns animated then, rolling off the porch like severed heads, bouncing toward us with impossible speed. Their stems flailed like tentacles, slashing at the air. One hit Alex in the leg, knocking him down. Another latched onto Dad's shovel, yanking it away. I clawed at the dirt, but the vines tightened, dragging me deeper into the soil. The ground opened up, a maw of mud and roots swallowing me inch by inch. Then it pulled them too. Vines snaked around Mom's waist, Dad's neck, Alex's wrists. We all screamed as we sank together, the earth closing over us like a grave. Down here, it's a chamber of horrors, roots twisting like veins, pumping some foul life into the walls. The air is heavy, wet, pressing in. We hallucinate in the dark, dirt filling our mouths, lungs burning as we suffocate alive. But we're not dead. Not yet. Pumpkin's laughter echoes from above, deep, guttural chuckles that vibrate through the soil. They're up there, glowing, waiting. I can feel the curse now, ancient and hungry. It feeds on families year after year. Alex whispers, "It's just a dream, but I know better." The vines pulse around us, tightening. Soon we'll be the harvest, fertilizer for next year's crop. If you find this, don't come looking. The ground remembers, and it's always Halloween down here. Story 2. I came to this old manor house seeking silence, a place to paint my grief away, but the mirrors here don't show reflections. They show truths no one should see. I'm Eleanor, a widow in my 50s, and I thought a Halloween retreat in this creaking pile of stone would spark my art again. Instead, I'm trapped, my screams silent, watching a monster wear my face. If you're reading this, don't look into the glass. It's not just a mirror, it's a door. The manor was a steal, rented cheap because of its reputation. Whispers of hauntings, of course. I didn't care. After losing Tom, I needed isolation, not ghost stories. The place was ancient, all warped wood and dusty velvet with a chill that clung to your bones. I arrived a few days before Halloween 2025, my easel and paints in tow, ready to lose myself in color. The master bedroom was my studio, its massive four-poster bed dwarfed by a wall of antique mirrors, their surfaces clouded with age. I liked their mystery, thought they'd inspire me. I was a fool. On Halloween night, I dressed in a vintage gown I found in an upstairs trunk, lace and silk, probably from the 1800s. It felt like slipping into someone else's skin, perfect for painting something raw. I lit candles, their flicker dancing on the mirrors as I worked. But around 11, I caught my reflection in the largest mirror, the one I'd wiped clean. It wasn't right. My face looked off, like it was watching me back. I leaned closer, and my heart stopped. Behind me in the glass stood a figure, a shadow mimicking my every move, its edges blurred like smoke. I spun around, but the room was empty. Just me, the candles, the paint. I laughed it off, nerves, shadows, nothing more. But when I looked again, the figure was clearer, its head tilted exactly like mine. My stomach twisted. I raised my hand, it raised its own, a mockery of me. As the clock downstairs began to chime midnight, the figure stepped forward in the mirror. Its face came into focus, decayed flesh hanging loose, hollow eyes like pits, teeth bared in a grin that wasn't human. I stumbled back, recognizing her from an old portrait in the hall. Lady Margaret, the manor's first owner, who'd slit her wrists after her lover's betrayal a century ago. I grabbed a candlestick, swinging it at the mirror. The glass shattered, but the shards flew inward, like the mirror was sucking them in. Before I could blink, it reformed, smooth and perfect, my reflection now a nightmare. My skin sagged in the glass, wrinkles carving deep lines, my hair graying to ash. I wasn't just aging, I was rotting, my eyes sinking, my lips cracking. "No!" I screamed, but my voice echoed only in my head. The figure, Margaret, reached out from the mirror, her bony hand breaking through the surface like it was water. Her fingers, cold as death, grabbed my wrist and pulled. My hand plunged into the glass, the sensation like plunging into icy sludge. I yanked back, but she was stronger, her grip a vice. My arm sank deeper, then my shoulder, my body folding into the mirror's depths. I felt my flesh wither, my bones ache, as if time itself was eating me alive. Halfway through, I was stuck, part in the manor, part in some frozen, mirrored void where shadows whispered Margaret's pain. Then I saw her fully emerge on the other side, stepping into my world. She wore my face now, but perfect, unaged, her eyes gleaming with stolen life. She smoothed the vintage gown, smiled my smile, and picked up my paintbrush. I pounded on the glass from inside, but it was like screaming underwater. No sound, no escape. She began to paint, humming a tune I'd never heard, her strokes bold and cruel. In the mirror, I watched my body decay further, skin peeling like old wallpaper, my voice gone as I clawed at the barrier. Now I'm trapped in this reflected realm, a prisoner in a world of endless mirrors, each showing her living my life, painting, eating, laughing with my voice. But her eyes betray her, glinting with Margaret's malice. The manor's mirrors are her gate, her trap, and she's been waiting for someone like me, alone, broken, a perfect vessel. I see others here too, faint shadows in the glass, past victims, their faces frozen in silent screams. If you find this house, don't touch the mirrors, don't look too long. She's waiting for another body to steal, another soul to lock away. I'm fading now, my reflection barely mine. But I write this in the frost of this prison, hoping you'll read it before you look. The mirror's not empty. It's hungry. Story 3. I should have listened to Abuela's warnings about the cellar, but Halloween made us reckless. Now, I'm crouched in the dark, my hands slick with blood that isn't mine, listening to my little brother's laughter twist into something that isn't human. We thought the old house was just creepy, a fun backdrop for our family reunion. But this place isn't a home. It's a trap, and it's been waiting for us Ramirez's all along. I'm Sophia, 12 years old, the oldest of the cousins. Our family, mom, dad, abuela, abuelo, and my younger siblings, Miguel and Lucia, came to our ancestral colonial house for a Halloween bash in 2025. The place sat on a hill, all sagging wood and cracked shutters, like it was glaring at us when we arrived. Abuela kept muttering about curses, saying the cellar was locked for a reason. But with candy bowls out and costumes on, her stories sounded like old superstitions. Miguel, 10, and Lucia, 8, begged to explore. I went along to keep them safe. Stupid me. The cellar door was in the kitchen, sealed with a rusty padlock. Miguel, dressed as a pirate, pried it open with a crowbar from Dad's toolbox, giggling about hidden treasure. I hesitated. Abuela's warnings echoed in my head. But curiosity won. We crept down creaky stairs, the air growing thick with a sour, rotting stench. Our flashlight beams caught rusted chains dangling from the ceiling, swaying like they'd just been touched. At the far end was a well, its stones crumbling, a foul odor wafting up like something dead had crawled inside and stayed. Upstairs, the doorbell chimed. Trick-or-treaters. We froze as a low growl rumbled from the well, deep and guttural, like a dog but worse. Lucia whimpered, clutching my hand. Then a clawed hand, gray and scaly, shot out of the well, grabbing Miguel's ankle. He screamed as it yanked him toward the darkness, his pirate hat tumbling off. I lunged, grabbing his arm, but the claws were too strong, dragging him halfway into the well before I could pull back. His eyes went wide, then blank, like something had snuffed out his soul. "Mom! Dad!" I yelled. The family thundered down, Mom and Dad with flashlights, Abuela and Abuelo behind them, faces pale. The beams lit up the walls, revealing carved symbols, jagged stars, twisted crosses, things that hurt to look at. Abuela gasped, crossing herself. "The curse," she whispered. "Witch hunters summoned it here centuries ago. It's bound to our blood." Abuelo nodded, his voice shaking. "They trapped a demon to punish our family for defying them. It lives in the well." Before anyone could move, the thing in the well roared, a sound that clawed at my brain. It climbed out, its body shifting. One moment a hulking beast with matted fur, the next a twisted man with 2 long limbs and glowing eyes. Its talons slashed the air, slicing Dad's arm as he shoved us back. The cellar door slammed shut above us, the lock clicking without a key. We were trapped. Miguel twitched, then stood, his head lolling at a wrong angle. His mouth stretched into a grin that wasn't his, and his voice, God, it wasn't his, hissed, "Ramirez's belong to me." He lunged at Lucia, his fingers clawing her face, drawing blood. I screamed, tackling him, but he was too strong, his body jerking like a puppet. The beast laughed from the shadows, its form flickering as it watched Miguel turn on us. Dad swung a chain at the creature, but it passed through like smoke, reforming behind him. Mom tried to drag Lucia up the stairs, but the door wouldn't budge. Abuela chanted prayers, her rosary shaking, but the symbols on the walls glowed red, drowning her words. The beast's talons raked Abuelo's chest, and he fell, blood pooling. I grabbed a loose brick, smashing it into Miguel's shoulder, sobbing as he snarled and swiped at me. His eyes weren't his anymore, just pits of hate. The air grew heavy, like we were breathing mud. The well pulsed, vines of shadow spilling out, wrapping around us. They burned where they touched, pulling us toward the well's mouth. I saw glimpses in my mind, our ancestors screaming, dragged into the same darkness, their blood feeding the curse. Miguel's possessed body pinned Lucia, his teeth snapping at her throat. I kicked him off, but the beast was everywhere, its laughter shaking the walls. Now I'm alone, hiding behind a crate. Miguel's out there, not Miguel anymore, hunting us. The others are gone, swallowed by the well or bleeding out. The beast whispers my name, its voice in my head, promising I'll join it soon. The cellar's alive, and it's hungry for the last Ramirez. Don't come here. The house remembers its debts. Story 4. The chandelier in that old mansion wasn't just haunted, it was a predator, and we were its prey. I'm Jake, or at least I was, one of 4 college friends who thought renting a creepy, abandoned estate for a Halloween escape room would be a thrill. Now I'm alone, my blood pooling on the dining hall floor, watching that cursed light fixture sway, its crystals glinting like teeth. If you ever find this place, don't light the candles. Don't even step inside. The house doesn't let go. It was October 31st, 2025, and we, me, Emily, Raj, and Sophia, had planned the ultimate Halloween game. The mansion was perfect, a crumbling, opulent wreck with velvet drapes and a dining hall big enough for a horror movie. The centerpiece was a massive crystal chandelier, its arms dripping with jagged prisms that caught the candlelight we'd set up for ambiance. Locals whispered it was haunted, tied to a family burned alive in the 1800s. We laughed it off, thinking it added flair to our escape room. We'd designed puzzles, locked doors, the works. A mock seance was the grand finale. We sat around the dining table, dressed in thrift store costumes. Me as a vampire, Emily a witch, Raj a skeleton, Sophia a ghost. The air was chilly, the mansion creaking like it was breathing. We held hands, giggling through fake chants, calling on spirits to show themselves. Then the chandelier moved. Not a gentle sway, a violent jerk, like something had yanked it. Crystals snapped off, flying like daggers, embedding into the walls with sharp thunks. We froze, staring upward. Emily, always the skeptic, laughed it off. "Old houses, right?" she said, stepping under the chandelier to inspect it. That's when a crystal dropped, slicing her arm. She yelped, clutching the cut, but the blood didn't fall. It dripped upward, defying gravity, soaking into the chandelier's frame. Her face went pale. "Guys, this isn't funny," she whispered. The chandelier groaned, lowering itself inch by inch, its chains rattling like bones. Raj bolted for the circuit breaker, thinking it was some electrical trick. He flipped the switch, but the lights flickered wildly, showing flashes of a fire, flames crawling up the walls, screams echoing. The heat hit us, real and blistering, like the room was burning. I grabbed Sophia's hand, pulling her toward the door, but it slammed shut, the lock clicking without a key. Emily screamed as the chandelier descended faster, and then we saw them, ethereal figures hanging from its arms, their bodies charred, faces twisted in agony. A family burned alive, now swaying like grotesque ornaments, their hollow eyes locked on us. "Run!" I shouted. but the crystals kept falling, spearing the floor like arrows. One grazed Sophia's leg, pinning her dress to the ground. She yanked free, sobbing, as the ghost's wails filled the air, a high-pitched keening that made my ears bleed. Raj stumbled back, his flashlight catching the figure's movements. They weren't just hanging, they were reaching, their smoky hands stretching toward us. Emily tried to dodge another crystal, but it pierced her shoulder, pinning her to the wall. Her scream cut off as blood streamed upward again, feeding the chandelier's glow. I yanked at the door, but it wouldn't budge. The heat grew unbearable, flames licking the edges of the room, though no fire was visible. Raj clawed at the windows, but they were sealed, glass cracking under his fists. A crystal shot down, impaling his chest. He gasped, blood bubbling, as a ghostly figure leaned from the chandelier, whispering his name. Sophia was next, a shard slicing through her thigh. She fell, and the ghosts swarmed, their hands pulling her up into the chandelier's frame, her body dangling like theirs. I ducked under the table, heart pounding, as the chandelier kept lowering, its crystals now inches from the floor. The ghost's wails harmonized with my friend's screams, a sickening chorus. I saw Emily's body slump, her eyes empty, a crystal through her heart. The family's spirits were claiming us, one by one, to join their eternal swing. I crawled toward the hall, but a crystal grazed my back, pinning me. Pain seared through me, and the ghosts' faces loomed, burned, grinning, welcoming. Now I'm alone, bleeding out, the chandelier still swaying above. Its light pulses, fed by our blood, and the ghosts hum softly, their new siblings hanging beside them. The mansion's alive and it's hungry for more. If you find this place, don't light the candles. The chandelier's waiting, and it never lets go. Story 5. I never imagined a dollhouse could steal your soul, but in that gothic nightmare we called home, it did. I'm Clara, a single mom trying to start over with my little girl, Lily. We moved in just before Halloween, drawn by the cheap rent and the quirky miniature replica of the house that came with it. But as I whisper this from my tiny prison, watching a ghostly hand rearrange us like toys, I know the truth. The dollhouse isn't a plaything. It's a trap, and it's been collecting families for years. If you ever see a house like ours, run. Because once you're inside, you're already part of the game. It was October 2025, and Lily, my 7-year-old bundle of energy, was thrilled about our new place. The house loomed like a monster from a fairy tale, tall spires, creaky floors, and shadows that seemed to follow you. I figured it was just old, nothing a coat of paint couldn't fix. The dollhouse sat in the attic, a perfect mini version of our home, down to the chipped paint on the front door. Lily begged to play with it, and I let her, thinking it would keep her busy while I unpacked. Halloween night arrived with a chill that seeped through the walls. We dressed up, me as a fairy godmother, Lily as a princess, and handed out candy to a few brave kids who ventured to our remote spot. As the trick-or-treaters dwindled, Lily dragged me to the attic. "Look, Mommy, the dolls are just like us," she said, her eyes sparkling. She arranged the tiny figures in the rooms, a mom doll in the kitchen, a girl doll in the bedroom. I smiled, but something felt off. The dolls looked too real, their porcelain faces pale and expressionless. Then I noticed it. As Lily moved the girl doll to the attic in the miniature, I felt a shiver, like eyes on my back. I glanced around, nothing. But when I looked back, the mom doll had shifted on its own, now standing beside the girl one. "Lily, did you move that?" I asked. She shook her head, giggling. "They're playing too!" My heart skipped. I reached for her hand, but she was already placing the girl doll in the basement of the dollhouse. Suddenly, a pull tugged at me, an invisible force urging me downstairs. My feet moved without my say, step by step, down the winding stairs to the real basement door I'd never opened. The door creaked open on its own, revealing stairs into darkness. I flicked on my phone's light, descending into a musty chill. At the bottom was a hidden room, walls lined with shelves of life-sized porcelain figures. They were people, former residents, their skin painted to look like china, eyes glassy and fixed. A mad collector had owned this house, I remembered from the realtor's hurried whispers. He'd preserved them as dolls, trapping their essences or something insane. My blood ran cold as I recognized faces from old photos in the attic. Whole families, frozen in eternal poses. A crash upstairs snapped me back. I ran up, but the house was changing. Doors vanished into smooth walls, hallways narrowed like closing jaws. "Lily!" I screamed, bursting into the attic. She was staring at the dollhouse, which now glowed faintly. The figures inside moved on their own, mirroring us. The mom doll racing upstairs, the girl one frozen in place. Lily reached for a doll, but her hand shimmered, shrinking as if pulled into the miniature. "Mommy, help!" she cried, her body dwindling, clothes loosening as she was sucked toward the dollhouse. In seconds, she vanished inside, now a tiny porcelain version of herself, banging silently on the mini windows. The life-sized dolls in the basement stirred then. I heard cracking porcelain as they animated, glassy eyes shattering like breaking ice, revealing dark voids beneath. They lumbered up the stairs, arms outstretched, grabbing at me with cold, unyielding fingers. I fought, smashing one with a lamp. Its head exploded in shards, but it kept coming, headless and relentless. Another latched onto my leg, its nails digging in like thorns. "Get off!" I yelled, kicking free, but more poured in, their bodies creaking like old hinges. The house warped fully, rooms tilting, walls pressing in. I grabbed the dollhouse, shaking it, but that only made the real world shake too, furniture sliding, ceilings lowering. A doll's hand clamped my wrist, pulling me down. My vision blurred, the world growing huge as I shrank, the attic expanding into a giant's lair. I tumbled into the dollhouse, my body stiffening into porcelain, joints locking. When I awoke, I was inside the miniature, staring out at a colossal attic. Lily huddled beside me, her tiny face tear-streaked but frozen. A giant shadow loomed, the collector's ghost, translucent and grinning, his massive hand reaching in. He rearranged us, posing Lily in the kitchen, me in the bedroom, his laughter a booming echo. We're his playthings now, eternally posed, watching him toy with us. The house collects more victims, I know. Don't move in. The dollhouse is waiting. Story 6. The music in this old estate wasn't just notes. It was a curse, calling back the dead to settle scores. I'm Victor, an old man rattling around in my family's crumbling home, and I thought a solo concert on Halloween would chase away the loneliness. Instead, it invited hell in. As I etch these words with shaking hands, the instruments still hum in the dark, waiting for their next victim. If you hear a melody from an empty house, don't listen. It's not music. It's a trap. And it's pulling me under even now. I've lived alone here for years, ever since the accident. The estate is a shadow of what it was, faded wallpaper peeling like skin, antique instruments gathering dust in every room, pianos, violins, drums, all from my family's band days. We were famous once, touring the world, but one night changed everything. A stage collapse during a performance killed them all, my wife, my brothers, my sister. I survived, barely, and folks whispered I caused it, tampering with the rigging for some insurance scam. Lies, but guilt sticks like tar. By October 2025, at 78, I was ready to play again, just for nostalgia. Halloween seemed fitting, with its thin veil between worlds. I set up in the grand hall that night, candles flickering on the mantel. Dressed in my old tux, frayed at the edges, I sat at the grand piano. My fingers, gnarled with age, danced over the keys, starting with our signature tune, a lively waltz that used to fill halls with applause. At first, it was beautiful, memories flooding back. But then, unbidden, a violin screeched from the corner, bow scraping strings without a hand. I froze but kept playing, thinking wind or imagination. Drums thumped erratically next, a chaotic rhythm that didn't match mine. The air grew thick, charged like before a storm. Shadows shifted and they appeared, translucent figures materializing around me. My family, but not as I remembered. Their faces were furious, eyes glowing with rage, bodies twisted from the crash. My wife, Elena, floated near the violin, her neck at a wrong angle. My brother Thomas hovered by the drums, ribs caved in. They blamed me, their voices whispering over the music. "You did this, Victor. Greed killed us." I stammered denials, but the instruments levitated, responding to their wrath. Violin strings uncoiled like snakes, wrapping around my neck like nooses, tightening just enough to choke my breath. Cymbals clashed from the shelf, slicing across my arm, drawing blood that dripped onto the keys. I tried to stop, slamming my hands down, but they wouldn't obey. Possessed, my fingers hammered on, the melody twisting into a cacophony, discordant notes clashing like screams. The ghosts merged into a spectral orchestra, their forms decaying further, flesh sloughing off in wisps, bones gleaming through. Elena's violin wailed accusations. Tomas's drums pounded like heartbeats of the damned. The music intensified, the house vibrating, walls trembling as if alive. Windows shattered one by one, glass exploding inward, but the shards hung in the air, shaping into razor-sharp notes that sliced the room. Pain seared through me as a floating trumpet blasted a note that pierced my ear, blood trickling down. I begged them to stop, but my voice was drowned in the symphony. The ghosts pulled closer, their cold hands phasing through me, tugging at something inside, my soul, unraveling like thread. I felt it slipping, drawn into the melody, my body jerking like a marionette. The unholy music swelled, sound waves manifesting as blades, carving into my skin, leaving gashes that wept red. My family's faces loomed, decaying smiles promising eternal torment. "Join us, Victor," they chorused. "Conduct forever." The hall spun, instruments whirling in a tornado of brass and wood. A flute's shrill pierced my chest, invisible but agonizing. I collapsed over the piano, hands still playing, blood smearing the ivory. My soul tore free, merging with theirs in the spectral swirl, leaving my body a mangled shell, limbs twisted, skin shredded by the notes. But I'm not gone. I'm trapped in the music now, a ghostly conductor for their endless performance. The estate hums with our symphony, waiting for intruders. Halloween's veil is thinnest, but the curse plays on. If you pass this house and hear the tune, don't enter. We're hungry for an audience, and you'll never leave the stage. For more stories like this, share and subscribe, Goofy Horror.